This is CBC Here and Now.
After a long wait, the ferry that connects Newfoundland to Saint-Pierre-Miquelon arrived at the wharf in Fortune this morning. I'm Jeremy Eaton, and I'll show you the first ever car rolling off that boat. Coming up on Here and Now.
Can expect some rain, even some snow this weekend, and then a warm-up on the way for next week.
An electrifying plan to get the province's foot off the gas pedal is making progress.
When we bought electric cars, we had to have that in mind. Can we make it out to Gander? Will that work? And the answer is now it can.
Coming up on Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Peter Cowan.
And I'm Carolyn Stokes. For years, the ferry that connects Newfoundland and the French territory of Saint-Pierre-Miquelon has been walk-on only. But today, for the first time, a car from Saint-Pierre boarded a ferry and completed the crossing to Fortune.
It's a big step for travel once pandemic restrictions are lifted. The president used today's symbolic crossing to again push for the French islands to be included in the Atlantic bubble. Here Now's Jeremy Eaton was there.
And with a few bumps of a car horn, a new era of ferry transportation is born. A big step forward for connecting the island to Saint-Pierre-Miquelon.
Today was the first test of the ramp and the first time that a car has been driven on and off the ferries on this side, so very exciting.
The president of the French territory was on hand for the milestone, though he wasn't on land. Bernard Briand wasn't allowed onto Canadian soil because of the COVID-19 restrictions for international travelers. While speaking to the small group gathered on the wharf, he used the media to promote the idea of Saint-Pierre-Miquelon joining the Atlantic bubble.
Ainsi que Justin Trudeau.
He says he's written the Prime Minister and hopes that they can join the Atlantic bubble when it opens, allowing the 6,000 French residents to get off the island and spend money in this province. Not far from this scene, Rita Thornhill watching what she called a bittersweet moment. She hasn't seen her fiancé, her sister, or nephews in over a year.
It was devastating. It's done a lot to my mental health. I find it very hard. Life has changed completely upside down. And, you know, this the personal side of it that people just don't see, you know, that it's not just France, they're people. And they're stuck there. They're on an island with like 6,000 people, and they go from east to west, and they can't move, no parts in between.
Onlookers watched, many with their phones out taking pictures of the long-awaited new ferry service. Just up the road at CNS Central, Rosalind Boland was working away at a store her son bought late last year. She says joining the Atlantic bubble is now needed more than ever in Fortune.
When the ferry was running and the ferry was operating and St. Pierre was opened, people would come and spend money here. They would drop by here to get their snacks and stuff for the ferry. And so it's been a big impact, he told me, when my son purchased it. He said that it's a big change in terms of revenue from the tourists from going to St. Pierre.
For Daniel Ams, the head of a group that promotes tourism between this province and Saint-Pierre-Miquelon, letting the French islands join will benefit the entire Atlantic bubble.
I think it opens up a lot of great opportunities for our province and for Saint-Pierre-and-Miquelon as a destination. So we basically work to promote a combined destination between our two regions. And we really feel that if we were to open up with Saint-Pierre-and-Miquelon, we have something very, very unique. No one else can say that they have France 25 kilometers from their coast.
Today marks a major milestone in travel between Newfoundland and Saint-Pierre-Miquelon. The president of the French territory made it quite clear that he wants them to join the Atlantic bubble, and that's a feeling that's also felt on the Fortune side. Unfortunately, that decision is not up to either of them. So while the new boat will run between the two islands, the question is, when are people going to be able to use it? Jeremy Eaton, CBC News, Fortune.
A contractor for NL Hydro has pleaded guilty to 3 workplace safety violations in connection to a 2017 accident that killed 2 men. The pair were working on a transmission line near Come by Chance when a steel tower collapsed. Here Now's Garrett Berry joins us live with more. Garrett.
Thank you. Because of this agreed statement of facts that we've received today, we've learned more now about what happened in this fatal accident. It was a 4-man crew working for Forbes Brothers that was replacing a guy wire that day. That's a safety wire that keeps the transmission tower secure. According to court documents, the crew began to take down the existing guy wire before the new one was fully secured to the anchor point in the ground. The court documents spell out that it's not clear why that happened. 2 men were tied off to the structure at the time, and when that existing wire was removed, the structure collapsed. Both were killed. The court found that this incident was also influenced by the company's choice to install the tower with a temporary connection, rather than fly it back to an assembly area for the installation of a proper length guy wire the first time. Had they done that, the wires wouldn't need to be replaced. In court on Wednesday, Forbes Brothers pleaded guilty to 3 violations of the Occupational Health and Safety Act. It admitted to a communication breakdown just prior to the incident. The company was fined more than $125,000 and will also pay more than $35,000 in victim surcharges. The supervisor on site was also convicted of 1 violation. In a statement released today, Forbes Brothers apologized to the family and friends of the 2 men and said it would start a scholarship in their honor. Timothy McLean was 31 from Nipigon, Ontario. He was married and is the father of 3 children. Jared Moffat was 34 from Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, and has a son of his own. Both have been remembered as friendly and outgoing people. Now, Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro is also facing an occupational health and safety charge in connection with this incident. That one is set to return to court in August. The company said today that it takes this tragic accident extremely seriously. Garrett Barry, CBC News, Gander.
We've got temperatures anywhere from 0 to just almost to the double digits, 9 degrees today in Lab City this afternoon. We're seeing those similar temperatures for the southwestern portion of the island as well. 9 degrees in Stephenville, same thing, or at least 8 degrees for Corner Brook. And then we've got those temperatures near or just a few degrees above 0 in that onshore flow, continuing for eastern areas of the island as well as the northeast. So we've got that ridge of high pressure still in place, that area of low pressure well off to the south, but we're still seeing some high cloud with that one. And our next weather maker is going to move in as we head through the weekend over the Maritime provinces right now, or at least edging in there. We're going to see some rain, some potential for some snow as well. And some of those temperatures are going to be quite cool as we head through the next 24 hours, only reaching a few degrees warmer than what we're seeing right now. I'll get into the details, tell you how much rain is on the way when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, once again, former MP Ryan Cleary is trying to start up a fisheries association. This one is called the Seafood Enterprises Association, or CNL. The group says it wants to be an independent voice for the more than 3,000 fish harvesters in the province. Now, you may recall Cleary tried for years to establish FishNL, which was aimed to replace the FFAW as the negotiating union for inshore fishermen. Cleary says his experience from that battle highlighted the need for fishermen to have an independent voice. He says CNL won't need permission from the Labor Relations Board to organize and incorporate, but it also won't be able to negotiate fish prices, which is his eventual goal.
There are more new cases of COVID-19 and more flood advisories to tell you about, but let's start with the new cases. There are 3 cases. They're all in the eastern region. There are 2 men in their 40s and a woman between 20 and 40. All are related to travel within Canada. There are now 18 active cases of COVID-19 in the province. Public Health is issuing 3 flight advisories for flights arriving in St. John's this week. Anyone on these flights should arrange to get tested. That includes Air Canada Flight 8018 from Montreal on Tuesday, Air Canada Flight 8996 from Halifax on Wednesday, and Air Canada 8018 from Montreal yesterday. Well, the Canadian Medical Association says distributing vaccines by population is unfair. Areas hardest hit by COVID, where people are getting sick and dying, should get a greater share of the limited supply of vaccine. Premier Andrew Furey has offered to help Ontario with things like equipment and people, but in a statement today he made it clear he won't be giving up doses of vaccine headed for this province. In a statement, Andrew Furey said when it comes to vaccines, it's only fair for the per capita model to continue. Given the dynamic nature of this pandemic, any province or territory could be in a serious situation at any point. Today, the federal government said it's willing to help get people or equipment from this province to Ontario.
The Premier Ferry, for example, if he's able to have a group of volunteers that would go and fulfill a particular need that he identifies with the Ontario government, perhaps the armed forces could provide transportation for those people to go to Ontario. So these are exactly the kind of ongoing conversations that happen multiple times a day.
Well, how bad is it in Ontario? They're looking at a worst-case scenario more dire than it's ever been. New modeling figures show cases could climb to 30,000 a day. The Ontario government has just brought in more restrictions. Ontario will close borders with Quebec and Manitoba starting Monday. Checkpoints are going to be set up. The government is also strengthening its stay-at-home order. It's closing more businesses and banning outdoor gatherings with friends. And Premier Ford is pleading with the federal government to get more vaccines as soon as possible.
To get ahead of the variants that are plaguing Western Canada, beginning Monday, we're setting up checkpoints at all interprovincial borders. We'll be limiting access to border crossings between Ontario and the provinces of Manitoba and Quebec, with exceptions such as work, medical care, or transportation of goods. And we're calling on the federal government to immediately tighten up our international borders.
Well, speaking of transportation there, a network of 14 fast charging stations for electric vehicles was supposed to be operational in this province by now. Level 3 chargers have been installed from St. John's all the way to Port aux Basques, paid for with more than $2 million from NL Hydro and the federal and provincial governments. Last summer, when the federal government contributed its share, it promised the stations would be fully operational by the end of 2020. But as Here Now's Mark Quinn reports, that plan is behind schedule.
Jeff Newman doesn't fill up at gas stations anymore. In his own driveway, it costs about $7 or $8 to fully charge an electric vehicle on this slow level 2 charger. Newman's the proud owner of 2 electric cars now, but he admits he needed a nudge from people who feel strongly about protecting the environment.
Absolutely true. It's fair to say that my daughter and my wife were very integral in the decision making.
With family in Gander, Newman was concerned about just how far these cars can go before losing power. Central was just too far from St. John's for his electric car. But Newman says a network of fast charging stations that Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro is building across the province is solving his problem.
We probably wouldn't have made that decision to buy that car had the stations across the island not been planned.
The 14 fast chargers like this one in Galway were expected to be fully operational by now. But NL Hydro's president says COVID-19 and weather slowed the project.
We've got 9 in service, with another 2 about to come in service within the next week or so, and then the next 3 just shortly after.
These chargers should fully charge a car like this in less than an hour for about $15. Williams says they'll all be available this summer, and she hopes there's more to come.
We've got an application jointly with Newfoundland Power to put in 19 stations in some of the areas that are not currently served, for example, on the various peninsulas in Labrador. So we've got that application in front of the Public Utilities Board now. We're really hopeful that we can provide the right evidence that shows it's a good decision for the province.
Williams says NL Hydro is asking the province to do more to encourage people to kick the fossil fuel habit. Incentives like rebates on electric vehicle purchases and rebates on home charging stations. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, it looks a little drizzly out there right now outside our station here in St. John's. Things are going to get wet as we head towards the weekend, and then a warm-up finally on the way.
This weather update is brought to you by the Healthcare Foundation Home Lottery. Order tickets now at hcfhomelottery.ca.
We all wish there was a way to get the weather exactly right, even us meteorologists, but the art of forecasting when it comes to rain, ice pellets, or snow is a tad bit complicated. Now, Environment Canada is giving us a better tool in our toolbox, and earlier this year they installed a Doppler radar at Holyrood, and now they're moving on to upgrade the equipment at Marble Mountain. Justin Boudreau is a meteorologist with Environment Canada Weather Office in Gander, and he's with me now. So I'm just curious, but how often are you teased by people about getting the weather right more often?
Yeah, I would say we definitely get teased more for getting it wrong than getting it right. But every now and then, someone will let us know that we did a good job. I would say that the people who do tease are the loud minority. Most people are pretty understanding around here about what we have to deal with on a daily basis.
Exactly. It's not exactly easy, but so before we talk about the logistics of installing a system like this on top of a mountain, remind our viewers what Doppler radar does.
Right, so what we're installing is, I guess I can answer Doppler radar as itself is basically just measuring the speed of the particles that are bouncing off the radar beam. The first benefits we get is actually we are able to get data every 6 minutes with the new radar instead of every 10 minutes. So we're actually getting quite a few more. I think it's only 6 images per hour with the old radar, and now we get 10. So we're sampling sort of the returns that much more. On top of that, the radar is more powerful. And with that, it's able to see through heavier rain, because it is a problem if you have a storm out here and heavy precipitation between this and the radar. With the less powerful radar, most of it bounces into this storm and doesn't quite get through. So the more powerful radar should penetrate through all of those echoes and give us better idea of what's coming behind.
Okay, so considering we're seeing more severe weather each year, how important is this improvement?
It certainly is pretty good. We don't have the greatest of Doppler coverage here. I mean, we are in a relatively quiet area as far as true severe weather. We don't get that many tornadoes or anything of that sort, but they can happen. The ability to see wind shifts and things like that, because Doppler radar isn't only for severe weather, will also be a good benefit for this.
So it's one thing to upgrade your equipment, but to do it on top of a mountain must bring some challenges. So can you tell me about that aspect?
Right, so that's going to be the biggest difference between this upgrade and the one we did in Holyrood last year. We only have a small piece of land on the top of the mountain at Marble Mountain, and so basically we have to remove the entire old radar first, because that's the only place suitable to replace and put the new one. And so that's going to significantly increase the time it's going to take for this radar to be replaced.
So it'll be more than a year. What are we going to use to verify those forecasts in the meantime?
We can mainly probably be using surface observations. We always had those, and really you want to verify your radar with the surface observations even when you have it. And then we'll be leaning heavily, most likely, on satellite products. We have a pretty good idea what clouds that bring significant rain look like, and so you can easily see those on satellite on most days, especially on the West Coast, where when we get the more severe snow squall bands, those show up very nicely on satellite. So it's pretty easy to see exactly where those are. And then we have other sources as well, ShipObs, and of course Twitter is and social media is a great way to let us know if there's something happening, especially if it's something coming out of a cloud that's beneath another cloud. It might be a little bit easier, more difficult to see, but for the most part, those are going to be the main tools we're going to be using.
Well, I think we're all excited to see what the new radar has to offer. Thank you so much for your time, Justin.
Thank you.
That's great. We'll have a better view of incoming weather. What's the timeline for this to be completed?
Yeah, so they're going to start removing the old radar in June, but they're going to have to stop for the winter because it's so windy up there, and it'll resume construction as soon as it can the following spring of 2022. And if the weather cooperates, the radar would be complete during the summer of 2022 and then be back online by the end of the summer. So Justin also noted that the radar in Cape Breton and then the one in Holyrood will be extended longer from 300 to 400 kilometers so that hopefully it'll fill in the gap from some of that missing radar while it's offline.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, we'll see, I guess.
So we're into the weekend now. It's Friday. How's tomorrow looking?
Well, it's looking a little chilly and a little rainy for parts of the province, but pretty similar to the temperatures that we're seeing today. Let's take a look at the daytime highs this afternoon. 2 degrees in St. John's, 3 in Terra Nova, and then we've got those temperatures around 8-9 degrees for the west coast, as well as the western portion of Labrador. You're into some of that warmer air there. Not so much for Happy Valley, Goose Bay, only reached a high near -2 this afternoon, and we are currently sitting at my stuff isn't going forward for some reason. Can someone go grab that for me? Yeah, so the temperatures today, we still have those milder temperatures on, or the cooler temperatures rather, on the west. Okay, thank you very much. Hopefully this one will work. There we go. Must have ran out of batteries there. The current temperatures right now are sitting there as well. So 9 degrees for Lab City, and then we've got those temperatures hovering around the 0 degree mark for St. John's, and same thing close to that around Gander, around 1 degree right now. The winds this afternoon were pretty windy, gusty rather. Sustained winds right now, about 48 kilometers per hour for Bonavista, St. John's at 31, and those wind gusts are upwards of about 50 kilometers per hour. So we're going to see that continue as we head through the overnight tonight, and with a ridge of high pressure to the north and that low to the south, we're going to see generally the cloud cover continue, and also that potential for a few flurries as well as drizzle. You can see that onshore flow again, like we've been seeing for the past couple of days, bringing that cloud cover, that low cloud, and then that high cloud just passing across the Avalon tonight. So tonight we're going to see some flurry activity across most of Labrador, and coastal areas will see partly to mostly cloudy skies. And then again in that onshore flow, we're going to continue to see the potential for some flurries and or freezing drizzle for central and eastern areas, pretty much anywhere in that onshore flow. Away from that, you should see partly cloudy skies tonight, along with some breezy winds. Again, winds out of the northeast anywhere from 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. Temperatures hovering near or just below 0. A little cooler towards the west coast, and then up across Labrador, lovely tonight. We'll see those clearing skies, -10 for Nain, and same thing along the strait. Otherwise, you'll be sitting into the minus single digits. As we head through the day tomorrow, we're looking at the cloudy skies continuing for most of us. We'll see increasing cloud on the west coast, and that's because our next area of low pressure is going to start to move in. The northern peninsula should stay partly to mostly cloudy through the day, and then not a whole lot happening up across Labrador. And you should just see a mix of sun and cloud through the afternoon. There's that rain that'll move in starting in the afternoon, at least for the southwest, and then eventually as we head into the evening hours and overnight, we'll see that rain creep further north towards central. Some of those higher elevations could pick up some snow as well, or mix with snow through the afternoon. Here's a look at the temperatures, staying chilly again in the east thanks to that onshore flow, and those winds generally 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. We'll see the potential for some drizzle later on in the afternoon. Towards central, about 5 degrees, staying cloudy like I said, and then that rain will move in as we head through the afternoon. Pretty lovely as far as temperatures, or as far as sunshine goes for the northern peninsula, but still going to be pretty chilly. Across Labrador, nice as far as that sunshine goes. Some flurries will move in late day for Nain, and then you're looking at temperatures above 0, should reach about 4 to 7 degrees through the afternoon. So that rain is going to generally continue though through the weekend. It's going to be a wet weekend for most of us. We're looking at some areas seeing anywhere from 20 to 30 millimeters. This will take us through to Monday morning, and I'll get into those details when I come back.
I ended up in that job very fluky. That's what happened. I never even had an application put in to go to work.
Well, that fluke turned into a job that lasted over 4 decades, and now he's retired. We'll meet the man who drove the Zamboni in Clarenville for the past 41 years. Well, these days, not many people can say they've held down the same job for over 40 years, but Kevin Goodyear can. He's a legend in the Clarenville hockey scene, having worked as a Zamboni driver there in the rink for 41 and a half years. That makes him one of the town's longest-serving employees, and he joins me now from Alberta. Mr. Goodyear, congratulations on a well-deserved retirement. How does it feel?
Oh, good so far. I must say I'm really enjoying it.
And what brings you to Alberta?
I have a daughter here with 2 grandchildren. I retired on Thursday, and Sunday evening we left to come to Alberta.
Well, can you take us back to when you were first hired at the town's recreation department back in 1979? Can you tell us about that time and how you ended up in that job?
I ended up in that job very fluky, and that's what happened. I never even had an application put in to go to work. A friend of mine called me and wanted to know if I wanted a job, and I said yes, and I went down and met the manager and all that, and then I started work.
So what did you think of the job when you first started off?
I enjoyed it first getting because there's something new to me. I never ever seen it before. How to make the ice, and everything was new. It was a new process, and I really enjoyed it, and I stuck with it. I looked after all the refrigeration mostly at the ice surface, make sure that that was operating properly, and that's how you make your ice from the start. So.
Well, you're well known in the community for driving the Zamboni, but you have other duties besides that too, right? What else did you do for the town?
Oh, we looked after anything with recreation. We looked after it, all the playgrounds, ball fields, soccer fields, walking trails, anything like that. We looked after it. We done all the maintenance on it and made sure everything was kept up.
And driving the Zamboni must have really given you an opportunity to connect with people.
Yes, over the years I met a lot of people driving the Zamboni. I had a lot of pictures taken with youngsters that wanted to get up on the Zamboni.
I bet they loved it.
Oh yes, yeah.
So it's a job that you stuck with for 41 and a half years. You must have enjoyed it. Can you tell us what you enjoyed most about that job?
Mostly was meeting all the people and all the travel I done while I was at it. I had a daughter that figure skated and a young fellow that played hockey. We went to a lot of rinks over the years, and I met a lot of people.
And what was the reaction from people in Clarenville when you announced your retirement?
A lot of people said that I wasn't going to do it. All my co-workers wouldn't believe me. Even my wife didn't believe me first. But I said, no, that was it. I'm going to retire. I had over 1,500 messages from people.
1,500 messages?
Yes, yeah.
And what sorts of things were they saying in the messages?
Most of all, congratulate me, the people that I met over the years, and hope that I have a good retirement, and I deserved it.
How did you feel when you received all of those messages? It's a lot.
Oh, I felt very proud.
So tell us how you're planning on spending your retirement.
Oh, I'm going to do a bit of traveling and camping, something I missed for a good many years. So I'm here for a month now in Alberta with my daughter and our 2 youngsters.
Are you planning on visiting the rink at least when you go home?
Oh, I would say yes. Most likely I'll visit every day, I'd say. Drop in and have a little chat with the boys.
Well, Kevin Goodyear, it was just a pleasure to speak with you, and I hope you enjoy your time with your family in Alberta.
I'm sure I will.
Well, returning now to Fortune, where today, for the very first time, the ferry made a symbolic crossing from Saint-Pierre carrying a car. That car wasn't able to actually come into Newfoundland due to COVID restrictions, but one woman says it offered a glimmer of hope. Rita Thornhill has been cut off from her fiancé for nearly a year. She's in Fortune, and he's locked on the French territories. Thornhill spoke to Radio-Canada's Patrick Butler earlier today.
To see this today is a little bittersweet. It's wonderful, but it's heart-wrenching, because when you know that you got family there and this magnificent sight is happening this morning, and all you can do is come down here and watch it, and it's just, so yeah, it's bittersweet. We've been together now for 10 and a half years. COVID struck last year in March. He left in February just to go home for a little while and come back. And he hasn't been able to step over the threshold of the house since. So it's been over a year since, almost a year now since I've seen him. He's applied to the consulate out there, and he got denied. And it's just been, it's been a very rough year. I have a sister out there and a few nephews as well. And she hasn't been in to see our dad. He'd be 88 now September, so she can't get across the water to see our family, which has been quite devastating for us. It's been quite the damper on our life in here. He's literally 30-something miles across the water, 12 miles from Lameline. Geographically, right here. I know they're part of France, and but they isolate when they get there from the plane on the other side out there. I do know that. But for the most part, it's been nighttime. You can look out and see the lights lit up when you go over Lameline, and it's quite devastating when you've been in a relationship for 10 years and all of a sudden you're just kind of chopped off at the knees, and nobody expected this, and
And when you know that there's not very much COVID over here, and that so many people have gotten one dose of the vaccine.
There's 70+% over there vaccinated, as to my knowledge right now. It's absolutely devastating. It's devastating. It's done a lot to my mental health. I find it very hard. Life has changed completely upside down. And, you know, this the personal side of it that people just don't see, you know, that it's not just France, they're people. And they're stuck there. They're on an island with like 6,000 people, and they go from east to west, and they can't move, no parts in between. That's just it, you know.
What do you think should happen?
I would love to see the border open, obviously, and I know it has to be done with precautions, and I'm absolutely sure that the government will take precautions to do that. I mean, those people want to get in here just as much as, you know, we want to get it there. I know economically they're saying tourism would be better if they came in for the tourism aspect, but for us personally, there's a lot of personal stories. It's not just me. There's hundreds like me that got family, got friends. There's people out there got homes in here they can't get back to. You know, it's just the human side of it that I think is being missed.
Taking a look at the COVID situation across Canada today, amid continuing hiccups in COVID-19 vaccine deliveries and distribution, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says millions of additional doses are coming into the country soon. But he calls the third wave and its strain on the healthcare system incredibly serious.
It is serious, very serious in Ontario and in some parts of the country, and it could get more serious in other parts of the country. This wave is different from previous waves, in part because the variants of concern are more communicable and more serious. That means the things that we did before might not protect us the same ways.
The Prime Minister calls this the toughest stretch of the pandemic. Moderna, which is dealing with production issues, says its shipments this month will be down to 650,000 shots. That was supposed to be 1.2 million. Meanwhile, Pfizer is ramping up supply, promising to send 8 million more doses on top of what was already promised.
Meanwhile, Ontario's Premier is publicly thanking Newfoundland and Labrador. Doug Ford says Premier Fury has contacted him more than any other Premier to offer help during Ontario's third wave. He says Fury is also putting together a small team of medical professionals to go to Ontario to help. Fury's government has also confirmed it's trying to help.
Premier Fury, the new Premier of Newfoundland, I'll tell you, the people in Newfoundland, I love you. I love all the East Coasters, and he has called me more than anyone. He is messaging me, how can I help you? He's trying to put teams in a small place like Newfoundland. This is, you know, they wear their heart on their sleeves out there. He's putting some professional healthcare workers together. He says it might not be much because we aren't that large, but it's just the effort and the caring, you know, coming together right across the country. And I'll tell you, when we get through this, I'm taking a trip out to the East Coast and thanking all the maritime provinces. I'm so grateful.
Switching gears here now, Peter, here's a story people in this province can probably relate to. In a small community, many families often have the same surname, whether they're related or not, and throw in maiden names. It can be fairly complicated to keep track of who's who.
Yeah, so back in 1985, the CBC show Midday aired a story about a small fishing town in PEI, where the community created its own phone book. Because with more than 100 gallants listed in the town, good luck finding the right one.
Yes, have a look.
Now we look across the country at various stories taking place. Our first stop is a town called Rustico, which is a small fishing community in Prince Edward Island. Rustico has developed its own system of keeping track of who's who in their community.
In the Rustico phone book, there are nearly 100 people named Gallant. 5 of them are named Jim, 8 of them are named Joe. So how do they tell them all apart? They give everyone a nickname. Of the 8 Joe Gallants in Rustico, one is called Joe Lacree. There's Peyton, Justin Johnny George, Joe Syriac, and Lolly Felix. The phone book, the one with the nicknames, was published by Gail Gussie Saunders.
If you look at our phone book, it's listed as Gail Gussie, or if you wanted to put a long handle on it, would be Gail Gussie J. Solomon, or maternally would be Gail Margaret Polly Phyllis.
The nicknames are every bit as common as the lobster traps you'll find these days on the Rustico wharf. What's your nickname?
Well, mine, I'm Paul Freddie Joe Charlie, or Paul Marion. My father's name was Freddie. His father's name was Joe, and his father's was Charlie, so I'm Paul Freddie Joe Charlie.
Now, what's your nickname in this phone book?
Carly.
Well, that's simple enough.
Carly Nane.
Carly Nane. How'd you get that?
That was my mother's name, my mother's nickname. Nane, and they called me after her.
What do you think of all these nicknames in town? Is it hard to get used to?
No, it's harder to get used to the real names. You know, we know the nicknames. Mostly everybody has a nickname, and we go by a guy over there, we call him Flem. His real name is Gregory.
You won't find my name in this phone book because I don't live in Rustico. But if I did, I'd probably sign off this story by saying, I'm Jimmy John, the boob tube for Compass.
I think that's... I've learned it's just better to not ask where people's nicknames come from. Because there's certainly plenty of people in this province. I know pretty much everyone knows a junior, whether or not they were actually named junior by their parents or not.
Time to find out who's celebrating. Happy 63rd anniversary to Wilson and Audrey Stoyles of Goobies. Congratulations to Wendell and Geraldine Coffin of Joe Bat's Arm on their 55th anniversary. Happy 61st wedding anniversary to Arthur and Hilda George of Port Union. Best wishes to Donald and Elsie Dove of Deer Lake on their 50th anniversary. Robert and Linda Woodman are also celebrating a golden anniversary. They're in Dunnville and now live in CBS.
Happy 64th anniversary to John and Jean Parsons of Upper Island Cove. Happy 50th anniversary to Randy and Diane Walsh of Seal Cove. Colleen and Randy Whitehorn from Happy Valley Goose Bay are celebrating their 50th anniversary. Congratulations to Jack and Ivy Marsh of Lower Lance Cove, Random Island, who are celebrating their 64th anniversary. Anniversary greetings going out to Larry and Evelyn Han, who are celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary.
Happy 50th anniversary to Sheila and Junior Bateman of Cooper's Brook. Alice and Lauren Smith of Bishop's Cove are also celebrating their 50th anniversary. Congratulations. Happy 60th anniversary to Harvey and Selma Goodyear of Deadman's Bay. Happy 51st anniversary to Florence and Freeman Gilbert of Little Harbor East, Placentia Bay. Anniversary greetings going out to Malcolm and Pauline Fudge of Deer Lake on their 64th anniversary.
Happy 50th wedding anniversary to Fred, who's also known as Butch, and Patsy Reddy of St. John's. Sending 53rd anniversary greetings to Dawn and Nina Bannister of Lethbridge. Congratulations to Maurice and Elizabeth Baker of Mount Pearl. They're celebrating their 56th wedding anniversary. Maynard and Kathleen Galachon are celebrating their 68th anniversary. They live in La Tabatière on the lower north shore of Quebec. Happy 53rd wedding anniversary to Freeman and Ann Noseworthy of South River.
Happy 54th anniversary to Marge and Neil Collett of Portland Creek, now living in Corner Brook. Congratulations to Henry and Joyce Ackerman of Mary's Harbor on their 50th anniversary. Happy anniversary to Lloyd and Audrey Thomas of St. Paul's River in Quebec. They're celebrating their 58th anniversary. Best wishes going out to Roy and Jane Marsden of Burgeo on their 58th anniversary. Happy 50th anniversary to Roy and Mary Jones of Mount Pearl.
Anniversary greetings going out to Nathaniel and Barbara Gould from Bear Cove. They're celebrating 57 years of marriage. Happy 55th anniversary to Harold and Lillian Hollett of Trinity. Anniversary greetings going out to Ethel and John Andrews of François, who are celebrating 50 years of marriage. Congratulations to Angus and Ina Brace from Chance Cove, who are also celebrating 50 years. Angus is also celebrating his 72nd birthday this week, so happy birthday to you as well. Happy 61st anniversary to Susie and Bud Rose of Hermitage.
Happy 50th wedding anniversary to Chris and Rita Pye of Mount Moriah. Joe and Ruby Fifield of Valleyfield, Bonavista Bay are celebrating their 54th anniversary. Happy 55th anniversary to Reverend Leander and Marjorie Mills, who were pastors in various communities on the island and now live in St. John. Warren and Emily Daw of Sealed Cove are celebrating their 69th anniversary. Congratulations to Peter and Jeanette Harvey on their 55th anniversary. They're from St. John's and now live in British Columbia. Wishing Gordon and Sylvia Adams of Old Perlican a happy 54th anniversary. They now live in St. John's.
Happy 53rd anniversary to Dorcas and Ernest Pierce of Daniels Harbor and Hampton, now living in Deer Lake. Happy 50th wedding anniversary to Watson and Sandra Burt of Kings Point. Happy anniversary to Finley and Yvonne Wareham of Ladle Cove. They're celebrating 59 years of marriage. Congratulations to Clarence and Effie Smith. They were married 71 years ago, and they now live in Grand Falls, Windsor. Big congratulations. Now let's get to some birthdays. Happy 90th birthday to Elizabeth Hussey of Bon Bay, now living in South River.
Happy 95th birthday to Cyril Pope of Stones Cove, Fortune Bay, now living in Mount Pearl. Wishing Arthur Gooby of Queens Cove a very happy 91st birthday. Happy 93rd birthday to Martin Roach of Middle Cove. Birthday wishes going out to Lambert Galabois from St. Augustine, Quebec. He's turning 96. Clara Reed from Bishop's Falls is also celebrating her 96th birthday.
Happy 94th birthday to Mary House of Port Saunders. Wishing Catherine Kilfoy a happy 96th birthday. She's from Little Bay and now lives in St. Lawrence. Happy 92nd birthday to Sadie Nash of Branch. Sherry Buffett is also celebrating a 92nd birthday. She lives in St. Albans. Happy birthday to Eleanor Murphy, who turned 101 this week. And it's another big one for Elsie Higdon, also turned 101. She's from New Harbor and now lives in Whiteway.
Well, after a couple of days this week of some pretty quiet weather. Our next weather maker is going to move in through the day on Saturday. By Sunday, most of us should be seeing rain, and in those higher elevations, we may even see some snow mix in through the day, certainly into the morning hours. As we head into the afternoon, those temperatures are going to be climbing quite nicely, so we should see everything change back over to rain for the majority. Wind's not going to be too bad with this one, but they will be will be a little gusty, 30 to 50 kilometer per hour winds expected. As we head into Monday, the northern peninsula will finally start to see some of that snow and or rain, and then we're going to see that for the southeastern portion of Labrador as well. Monday's still going to stay a little bit unsettled, but we get into that southwesterly flow, which means temperatures are going to start to bump up as we head into the week, so that's certainly good news. And as far as the amount of precipitation goes, this takes us through to Monday morning. Most areas seeing anywhere from 10 to 20 millimeters of rain, but there are some pockets of higher amounts, 20 to 40. Certainly possible for areas for Green Bay, White Bay, maybe eastern areas of the Avalon, and then along the south coast as well. Taking a look at the temperatures for Sunday, they're going to start to bump up a little bit across the board, between 5 to 7 degrees. Now the west coast, you've been seeing much nicer weather than this, but your temperatures will be sitting there through the day. Not a whole lot happening across Labrador on Sunday towards the evening hours. That's when you're going to see that rain move in, but overall temperatures should be above zero, 4 to 7 degrees. And then as we head into Monday, then temperatures will be pretty similar. So anywhere from 4 to 8 degrees across the board, maybe a little cooler for the southwest. And then we've got the forecasting unsettled through the day on Monday, either rain or snow, and temperatures will be anywhere from 3 to 5 degrees across the big land, and a little bit cooler for the northern portion, only hovering around 1 degree. There's the warm temperatures I've been talking about for the past couple of days. By the time we get into Tuesday, we'll finally see those double digits again. This is actually above where we should be sitting this time of year. And then Wednesday looks a little bit unsettled. Some sunshine though. We may see a few showers through the day, but nothing too significant. And then for central areas, we're looking at a similar forecast, 10 to 11 degrees as we head into next week with sunshine. And then for the west coast, looking a little bit unsettled, not nearly as warm at this point anyway, 7 to 9 degrees, and also the potential for a few showers. I have those flurries in there. That'll be late day, or at least in the morning hours. For eastern Labrador, temperatures will be above zero through the middle of next week. You'll see some sunshine by the time we get to Wednesday. And then for western Labrador, after Monday, it's looking nice, but temperatures will be hovering into the single digits. Wanted to share this photo. This is Rocky Harbor. Wanda Pittman shared that one with us. And if you have any weather photos, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca. Gorgeous. Love Rocky Harbor.
Well, we're heading into the weekend, Peter, but for those folks who are always looking for those COVID numbers each day, it's going to be a bit of a change this weekend, right?
Yep. The plan is that they're not going to put out the numbers over the weekend in order to give the public health crews a little bit of a break, so they'll release them Monday. Although, to be fair, they said they were going to do that last weekend, and then we still got updates throughout the weekend as they were tracking the situation on the West Coast. So it's all dependent to change based on COVID, like everything else.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Anthony will be back with you Monday.
Good night.